Back here at CBS Sports HQ, Nick Saban is headlining this year's Hall of Fame class. The Hall of Fame announcing the inductions today. And Nick Saban found out about this a week or so ago. And it's a no-brainer, obviously, but he's not the only big name that's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. In fact, one of the other coaches, Urban Meyer, a guy that many thought might overtake Nick Saban as the best college football coach of all time, but Urban Meyer didn't have that sustainability, even though he and Nick Saban won national championships at two different schools. Let's bring in Damien Harris, who won 2 national championships with Nick Saban at Alabama. Damien, thanks so much for joining us. What made him, I know this is a difficult question to answer succinctly, but what made him the most successful coach in college football history?
Well, there's a lot of things that you can point at. I mean, if you want to talk numbers, he has the record for the most first-round draft picks at any school with 52, the most at one school with 47, I think it is. I mean, look at the success that he sustained year after year after year. You mentioned he won national championships at multiple programs. He won 6 at the University of Alabama. And beyond that, it's the way that he educated, the way he taught, the way that he led young men. I mean, young men like myself, we are in so much better positions now as husbands, as fathers, as men in the community, things that are much more important than just the game of football because of Nick Saban. There's so many lessons, so many things that he taught us about life that I carry with me every single day, and I haven't played football in over a year. So when you talk about, statistics and numbers, obviously those things speak for himself when it comes to wins, when it comes to national championships, draft picks. Look at how much money accumulatively the guys in the NFL that played for Nick Saban are making right now. That speaks for itself. But again, just the things that he taught us as men, how to be members of the community. I mean, one thing I will always lean on is whenever he talked to us about stop looking for a blessing and be a blessing to others. And that, along with countless other things, are what made him so successful, what made the players and the coaches who were a part of his program so successful. I mean, it's hard to completely embody what he meant for the game of football, but I think that we can all tell whenever he announced his retirement and the world stopped on its axis. I mean, that kind of points out how great of a coach he is, how great of a member of the college football world, the fraternity that we're all a part of. Like, he is a major part of it, and he will never be duplicated.
You played for him when he was at the height of his strengths at Alabama, national championships. I mean, you were great, back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons. But was there ever a time where he scared the hell out of you?
Shoot, yeah. I was actually a freshman, and this was at the time, I came in thinking that I was going to be, the 5-star guy that was going to start, have a, incredible freshman year. And if you remember, there was a guy by the name of Derrick Henry who happened to win the Heisman Trophy that year. But I remember it was fall camp, and, we had a scrimmage, and he was pounding me, like, as far as getting me the football, as far as making me go against the #1 defense, and I was tired. And so then I had to go do my reps on special teams, and of course I was loafing, and we've all heard Coach Saban talk about loafs many, many times. And I remember we watched the film of that the next day, and he literally stood up from his seat, turned around and looked, and he was like, "Where the hell is Damien Harris at?" And I just kind of raised my arm like, "I'm right here, Coach." And he literally walked up the stairs, probably 2 or 3 rows, met me exactly at my seat and told me I will never play a down of football for him, given that kind of effort. And when I say it scared the hell out of me, it did. And that was a part of the reason why I was able to have such a successful career and rush for 1,000 yards back-to-back years, win a couple national championships. But, it wasn't fear truly that he struck with you. It was, you didn't want to let him down, because you knew if you abided by the things that he said, if you bought into his program, if you bought into his teaching, his coaching, you were going to be successful. So I was almost scared of letting myself down as much as letting him down, because I knew that he was laying out the blueprint for myself, for other guys like Derrick Henry, Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So you did not want to see that disappointment on his face, because it was a lot to handle for sure.
And then prepared you for an NFL career with Bill Belichick as well. Nick Saban, one of 3 coaches that were elected to the College Football Hall of Fame, along with Urban Meyer, who, look, for a 15-year stretch, he was as good as just about anybody. Didn't have the longevity of Nick Saban, though. You said you have a funny story to share about Urban. What is it?
I do, but going to your first point about that run that he had, I think it should be noted. He has over 85% win percentage, which is greater than Nick Saban, which is greater than Bear Bryant. So you have to say, in that run, he was one of the greatest of all time. Not quite Nick Saban, but Urban Meyer is a legend in himself. But my funny story about Urban is, I went to a high school and our colors were orange and navy blue. And I took a visit to Ohio State. I was competing at a camp. And granted, I already had an offer from Ohio State. But he pulls me over to the sideline. And he's introducing me to Ryan Shazier. We're having a great conversation. I'm meeting some Ohio State legends. And he just happens to look down at my feet. And he sees I got on blue cleats. And when I tell you, he stomped, smushed my foot into the ground and told me he was going to pull my offer completely if I did not take those cleats off right then and there. And I thought he was joking. I mean, obviously he stepped on my shoes and I'm like, okay, he's not joking about that, but is he really going to pull my offer? And I was like, I laughed it off. And then he just stood there and stared at me with these beady eyes. And I just sat down, unlaced my cleats, took them off. I was like, listen, please. I love Ohio State. I love you. You're a great coach. Like, let's not take it too far here. I'm just repping my school here, coach. Like, give me some grace. Just give me a little bit of grace.
Was that the deciding factor on going to Alabama instead?
Maybe just a little bit, because it was intense. And I think that intensity is a part of what led Urban Meyer to be such a great coach, such a great competitor. I mean, you saw what he did at Florida. You saw what he did at the University of Ohio State. The record speaks for itself, but might have been just a little bit much for me. I still got all the respect in the world for him, but Nick Saban didn't come stomping on my feet, almost giving me turf toe or something, jamming my toes up. So maybe that was why I led towards Alabama.
That's great stuff from Damien Harris, the two-time national champion at Alabama, as his college coach Nick Saban goes into the Hall of Fame with Urban Meyer, who stomped all over his nice shoes. Looking at some of the players that are going into this year's class as well, one of the most electrifying college players of all time, Michael Vick, is going in. Monte Ball, who was a record-setting running back at Wisconsin, along with Michael Strahan as well. More HQ coming up.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you.
Big news coming out of the NFL. A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
With highlights.
What a finish at the final round of play.
And in-depth analysis.
Can they three-peat? Tony Romo joins the conversation.
What can you say about this game?
When you need your sports in a snap,
we're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
Find it on CBS Sports HQ. Streaming free anywhere you are.